everyone, Mr. DeCourval back here yet again, and today we are going to be making some honey garlic chicken stir fry. If you remember, as we just kind of talked about, our task, our skill for this week is to be multitasking, which means that you're doing several different things all at once in your recipe. So with mine, it involves cooking chicken, cooking vegetables, making rice, and making a sauce. So there's a variety of different things going on at once. So let's go ahead and get it kicked off. So I'm going to go ahead and start by making my rice because it sometimes takes a little bit like the longest to make. Now I'm going to be making jasmine rice. You really want to be paying attention to what type of rice that you use and pay attention to the cooking instructions on the bag or the container that you get it in, just because every single rice is going to be a little bit different. So jasmine rice is native to Thailand, and it's probably my favorite rice, and it's super aromatic and it's incredibly flavorful. Now, it says to use about a cup to a cup and a half of water for our rice. I like to err on the side of more water, just because if you just need to cook it off a little bit, it'll make it a little bit easier. But if you have too little, it can burn to the pan quite easily. So I'm going to take my saucepan over here, put in my cup and a half of water as per described in the instructions on my rice, along with 1 cup of rice. And I'm going to go ahead and bring that to a boil. So I'm going to turn that on to high heat. So after I bring that to a boil and it starts boiling, I'm just going to stir it up a little bit, put the lid on, reduce it to kind of like a simmer, and let it go for about 15-ish minutes. Next, I'm going to take a frying pan, put it on the heat, probably on like a medium heat, and I'm going to just drop about a tablespoon of oil in there. Vegetable oil more specifically. There we go. And we're going to cook up some vegetables. So I'm going to start off first with, we need a cup of sliced carrots. So the very first thing I want to do is make sure I peel these bad boys. Now I like to do this over a chopping board because I know some people like to do this over a garbage can, but let me tell you, from personal experience, it's very easy to drop whatever it is you're peeling into the garbage. And now it's just that, garbage. Okay, so I now have my peeled carrots. And I have my trusty handy dandy chef's knife, you got it. I'm just gonna tip off both ends. Now as you can tell, this part is quite a bit thicker than this part. Now you gotta decide which kind of size of carrot slices you want. So I'm gonna kind of cut this right down the middle just because I'll probably half these. So from here, remember, whenever I cut something, I'm gonna rock chop this more specifically. I'm gonna go ahead and curl my hand over, remember, old lady, curl those fingers, put my thumb at the very back of our food, just to kind of keep that out of the way. And remember, I rock chop it. And that's, you can make a decision of how thin you want these bad boys to be. You can have a little bit thicker, have a little bit thinner, it's all up to you. And of course, as we get closer, remember, our fingers are nowhere really near the blade. They're touching the knife, but not the blade, and we can pull our hand back. All right, now that we got our carrots all chopped up, now let's go ahead and prepare our broccoli. So we're gonna so we need about 2 cups of broccoli florets. And what florets is, I'll show you. Let me just kind of cut off this stalk, don't need it. Boop. Like this is considered a broccoli floret. So I wanna kind of make these a little bit smaller so that we can kind of get a few more of them, and then we'll pop them into our pan with our carrots. So a lot of this you may not necessarily need, and you can just take, if you want, a broccoli tree about this big, you can have it be about that big. Or if you want to kind of cut the floret into half, you can cut them into halves and then into quarters. You can make them whatever size that you want. Okay, so I've got my broccoli ready to rock out, as well as my trusty carrots. So we're going to pop them into our pan. Let's saute them for about, 4-ish minutes. We're going to continue to cook them a little bit later, so they don't have to be completely soft, but we're just going to saute them. Ooh, you hear that nice little saute sizzle for just a little bit of time. So you can kind of toss them around, coat them with your oil, then pop them back on the heat. You'll be living the good life. All right, crew, so as we are having our vegetables saute and soften a little bit over here, let's start to prep our chicken. So I'm going to take my chicken breast, I'm going to cut them into smaller pieces. And you see sometimes you'll have these white pieces right there. That's fat. That's the stuff that we don't necessarily want. So I'm going to go ahead and take my chicken breast and take my Santoku knife, because I just used my chef's knife. I'm going to use it again in a few seconds on some more vegetables. So I'm going to use my Santoku knife instead and just kind of cut off the fat. And now cut it into smaller pieces. Again, as you can see, I still have my curved fingers right here. I'm just going to cut this into slices right now. I'm going to cut them into smaller pieces in a second. You, of course, can cut them into smaller pieces, bigger pieces, whatever size piece you want, you can cut them into. Now, in the recipe, it says to use about 1 chicken breast, but we'll use about 2 chicken breasts. Because why not? We're not driving. Let's just go enjoy ourselves. And then from here, I'll just go ahead and take my chicken and cut it, like I said, into smaller pieces. All right, everyone, so now that I got my chicken all chopped up, and don't forget to make sure you're using yourself a plastic chopping board, I'm gonna take my vegetables over here. I'm gonna drop them onto a plate onto the side. And I could just go ahead and add a little more oil. And now I'll add me just a little splash more oil, about a teaspoon. It says in the recipe to kind of wipe the pan down. You can, it's not incredibly necessary. And now I'm going to add my chicken. And now that our rice is done, I'm just going to take it off the heat and set it to the side. Okay, don't forget, now if you want to season it, I'm just going to season my chicken with a little bit of salt, just a little bit of pepper. Not get too crazy with my bad self. Remember, we always go hand to pan, not can to pan. It's too easy to put too much in there. You have much better control doing it this way. So I'm just going to sprinkle my salt on from here. And any sort of excess salt I can just pitch. I also do this with my pepper as well. Hand to pan. Oakley doke. So as my chicken is continuing to cook, now I'm going to start to prep some garlic. Now here's where the garlic comes in, obviously, for our honey garlic chicken stir fry. So we need a decent amount of garlic. We actually need 4 cloves of garlic. Now if you want to go a little bit more, that's totally fine. You guys know me, I love my garlic, so we can go ahead and have a little bit more. All right, folks, so I like to normally use larger cloves of garlic, so I like to use like 4 large cloves, but this bunch has produced some smaller cloves, so I'm just gonna use maybe like 5 smaller cloves. So don't forget, you take it off of one end, take the tip off the other end as well, and then it'll kind of start to peel. Then if you want to peel it more, remember, you just crush it a little bit. Take off our wrapper. Okay, so from here, of course, I've got my garlic peeled. Put it in the garbage bowl, don't forget that. And remember, of course, curling our fingers under. I'm going to slice our garlic. And then I'll proceed to mince. Remember, cross chopping. Tip of the knife down, offhand on top, using the heel of the knife. Remember, find your flow first before you really speed it up. If you're finding your flow, then you can go ahead and speed it up. Okay, so from here, now we add our garlic to the chicken. And that's gonna smell real nice, real quick. Okay, so as our garlic caramelizes, which means it's the browning of the sugar that is in the garlic, we're gonna make our sauce. We're gonna utilize a 1/4 cup of chicken broth, a 1/4 cup of soy sauce, and 3 tablespoons of honey. Okay, so after our garlic caramelizes with our chicken, let's go ahead and add back our other vegetables. Let that all cook together. All right, so we just mixed up our sauce, so let's go ahead and put that to the side because there's still one more mixture we need to mix up. What we're gonna make is a little bit of a cornstarch slurry. The cornstarch, as you know, obviously is a starch. And so what that will do is that will be the thickening agent of our sauce. But we don't want to just add it by itself because then it will kind of coagulate into small little balls of cornstarch. It won't thicken and it will just kind of look gross. So we're going to mix that first with some water. So 2 teaspoons of cornstarch with 1 tablespoon of water. Okay, so I'm going to now add my sauce, which remember is our chicken broth, honey, and soy sauce, into our chicken mixture. We're gonna cook this bad boy for about a minute after we've added our soy sauce mixture, and then we're gonna add our cornstarch slurry to help thicken it up. All right, so we've been simmering over here for about a minute. Now let's add I use a whisk to kind of make sure this is fully incorporated, the cornstarch is fully incorporated into the water. Then I take it and I go ahead and drizzle it into our mixture to thicken up that sauce. All right, so I've got my bed of rice now over here, my jasmine rice. And I'm gonna take, I don't know if you can really see here, but our sauce is thickened up quite a bit. If you leave it on the heat even longer, it will thicken even more. So depending on what your personal preference is, you can go for it. But from here, I'll just go ahead and take my mixture and I'll add it to my rice. I won't add all of it right now because it might be a little overwhelming. And as you can tell, it looks really good. But of course, as you know, the question is, doesn't look good, is does it taste good? And let me tell you, it does.